Well, welcome back, Anne, to the studio.
Thank you.
It's lovely to have you here and to talk about historic royal palaces. Do you mind just giving a quick recap to our audience?
Certainly, yes. We are an independent charitable organisation, so we're not funded by the government or indeed the royal family. So we earn all our own income to maintain and restore the 6 royal palaces under our care. The Tower of London, Hampton Court Palace, Kensington Palace, the Banqueting House at Whitehall, Kew Palace and Hillsborough Castle and Gardens in Northern Ireland. And we're responsible for their care and conservation as well as their presentation to the public.
And over your tenure at Historic Royal Palaces, how do you think things have evolved and changed to really improve the visitor experience?
Oh, wow, enormously. My goodness, I've been there so long that it was, before the days of computers and things like that. So, the experience and the way people purchase has changed immeasurably. People arrive having booked, they will have digital tickets, so they're not exchanging anything, any voucher or prepaid admission. They have all those details ready in their documentation, which is digital, or they can print it, but it goes straight in. So the visitor experience on arrival is very much more seamless. And booking processes through the likes of Avanti, they can book very smoothly. The visitor journey is very smooth. The way we tell the stories of history has changed. So going from conserving the stones and the fabric of the building to telling the stories of the events that have happened within the building. And now our third stage is, as I said, stirring the spirits of our visitors and making them go away feeling that they have participated and learnt a lot more in a very enjoyable and understandable way. So there's been a huge amount of change in not only the booking processes, but the interpretation and the experience for our visitors as well.
When I was last in London, I did have the immense joy of visiting Tower. And one of the things I thought was just so cool was the crown jewels. I mean, the display is amazing. You don't see that anywhere, of course.
Well, you need to come back because we've just represented the Jewel House. So following the coronation of King Charles earlier this year, we were already in the planning process for 4 or 5 years in the representation. But the displays prior to you going into the Treasury to see the main pieces have been totally changed. And again, you're talking about how things have been updated. And there's new cabinets, new display, new presentation, video, immersive, sort of very high quality video content that shows some of the gemstones. And we talk about some of the stories that perhaps you wouldn't have liked to have spoken about, where they came from, the actual diamonds and the gemstones, and being quite honest about some of those historical factors that we've perhaps shied away from in the past, and presenting them in a way that people then understand a little bit more about the backstory. So it's, you're going to have to come back.
I will. I just think the entire setup is so well done, and you really feel like you're right in the heart of London, but you feel like you've stepped back in time. And of course, with so much film and TV being covered in, all these wonderful movies, and Netflix has done such a wonderful job of bringing some of that history to life. We are finding so many people that want to travel because of what they're seeing in the media.
Sure.
Yeah. So
it's just very powerful.
It's very powerful, and everyone has a different, I think, approach to history. We see so much with film and TV. What do you think people aren't seeing? So, there's so much in the media, but maybe there's some hidden gems that people are overlooking that, as a historian, you would love for them to learn more about.
Well, I have to say, I'm not really the historian.
Okay.
I've learned all my history through being in this job for so long. But there's lots of things. I mean, with the Tower of London's very much your first time visit to London. It's on your bucket list. You need to see the crown jewels, the beefeaters, the ravens. Don't forget the ravens who guard the tower, the big black birds. Legend has it there always has to be 6 in the Tower of London, or else the tower will fall and the end of the monarchy, and then I'll need a job as well. So it's very important we all look after the ravens. But moving out to Kensington Palace, for example, it was the birthplace of Queen Victoria. And you can learn the whole of her growing up as Princess Victoria in the Kensington system, which was very strict and governed by her mother. And interestingly, as soon as she ascended the throne, she moved out and left her mother behind. But at Kensington, we have some of her tiaras on display, which are absolutely almost on the level of the crown jewels. Not quite, but they are stunning, beautiful pieces. So next year, from Easter through to the end of October, we will have Untold Lives. So we're looking at the people who served the monarchs, so the people behind the scenes, people who came from all around the world. I mean, they weren't all British people. They were from across a whole continent that was opening up at the time in the 1700s. And they came over and served the Georgian kings at that time. So this is all about the Georgian period. So those new stories will be told. And then at Hampton Court Palace, there's everybody knows it as Henry VIII's palace, Tudor palace, but it's 2 palaces for the price of 1. And most people sort of go to Hampton Court maybe on a return trip to London. It's about 45 minutes from central London, just half an hour on the train, which is dead easy from central London. And here you'll find not only the Tudor palace, but the Baroque palace. So this is where William III was living, and he is not like Henry VIII. He wasn't good at PR. You can't visualize him, whereas you can Henry VIII, of course, because so many movies were made about him. But William nonetheless rebuilt the back of the palace to look like Versailles. So it's the English Versailles and the beautiful gardens. Not quite on the scale of Versailles, I hold my hand up, but it is glorious, and people discover that sort of on a second trip. I mean, you're more than welcome to come on your first visit if you've got time enough, but there's so much to see: the Tudor kitchens, how Henry's banquets were prepared. So if you're theming an itinerary, you've got the royal factor, which royal tours have certainly in the last couple of years with everything that's happened, very, very popular. But if you're doing gardens, we have gardens at all of the palaces to enjoy. If you're doing food, culinary, well, come to the historic kitchens at Hampton Court Palace and see how Henry VIII's banquets were prepared. And is it really true that he chewed on a chicken leg and threw it over his shoulder? Or was that Hollywood? I'm not going to tell you. You have to come and find out.
Well, I do love the garden aspect of the palace too. I think that's, when you say 2 for 1, that's also, in my mind, a giant value add, because there's some gorgeous gardens attached to these palaces. And, I think the perception of what an English garden is in the American mind may be very narrow. But when you're out there and you're visiting all these different gardens, you see the vast diversity, the different kinds of plants that they were finding across the world and bringing them.
It's spectacular.
Thank you so much, Anne, for joining us, and hopefully next time we will see you on site at one of your beautiful places.
Come and see us at the Royal Palaces. Why not?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.